What's going on, everybody? Seminoles Nation, what is going on is another edition of Florida State Primetime Live here in Voice of College Football. I am your host, Matthew Lennox, and I am here with my co-host, Jacob. What is going on, brother? How you doing?
Pretty good, man. Finally, I can deliver some good news. Florida State finally won its first ACC game in men's basketball, beating a really good Miami team who had 15 wins coming into this game. So, very happy about that. And, we got some good news in the transfer portal finally. So, looking forward to jumping right into it with you, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Speaking of jumping into it, let's first start with some people who are returning to Florida State. As we know, Kevin Wynn, one of the top-rated recruits in 2025, Psycho had decided to enter the transfer portal, and that was a huge, huge loss because he was looked at as one of the building blocks for the future. But not so fast, my friend. He has changed his mind, and now Kevin Wynn is returning to Florida State to be a part of the defensive line rotation in 2026. So, how did you feel when you got that update that Kevin Wynn was coming back?
Oh, I'm stoked, man. He was such an integral part of that defensive line. And, I played at him on College Football 26, so I can attest that, he has star dev. So for those in the audience who play college football, you know what that means. He's pretty good. So, but so stoked. I mean, the defense definitely could use the help. Bringing in the transfer portal guys and with this high school recruiting class, wouldn't surprise me to see them at least at bowl eligibility now that we got Kevin Wynn back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure, man. Like I said, he was definitely was a rotational guy his first year. Everybody knew that was probably going to be his role his first year. Playing behind Darrell Jackson and some of the other guys. But one of the guys that was looked at in 2026 says, you're going to be looked at as a guy that's going to get valuable reps this year, not just a rotational guy. So losing him hurt, but getting him back was definitely a plus. And speaking of the defensive line, the cherry on top, as far as that unit is concerned, the Bezier twins, Mandrell and Daryl, have withdrawn from the transfer portal and signing a lucrative deal to stay at Florida State. These two were probably on top of the list as far as priorities, as far as retention when it came to the roster of Florida State in 2026. So I know you were definitely stoked when you saw that the Bezier twins will be back wrecking havoc again in 2026.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like when they were a focal point of the defense. And so, again, I will never complain about, adding aspects to the defense that will become game changers. And, them working alongside Chauncey Kennan, finally remembered his name for the first time on this show. So, the defense last year, other than like the Virginia game and the Pitt game, it wasn't horrifyingly bad. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
I'm thinking the turnaround this season could definitely be noticeable. So instead of being, maybe middle of the pack nationally, somewhere around there defensively, maybe they could be top 25%, perhaps. I mean, there are 136 FBS teams, so we got a little bit of competition. Right. But offensively, how are we looking? Because I know offensively we were decent this year. We were like top 10 in like yards and a whole bunch of other categories, it feels like.
Yeah, like the only thing with the offensive numbers is, they were kind of inflated just because of the first couple opponents that they played. When you rack up 140 points and like 1,500 yards in two games, against Kent State and East Texas A&M, it kind of inflates it a little bit, but they definitely took some strides at being better offensively. We should have seen a little bit more balance at times, and sometimes the play calling was a little questionable situationally, but it definitely took some strides from 2024. That is definitely a fact. But speaking of adding to the roster, we also had some commitments through the portal. Multiple quarterbacks added since the last time we talked. A quarterback, Malachi Marshall, who has 2 years of eligibility left. A JUCO guy, threw for 2,750 yards last year. Actually, was JUCO Player of the Year, but 33 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Also had 120 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground. And also quarterback Dean DeNoble from Lafayette. He committed to Florida State with 1 year of eligibility left. Last year, threw for 2,542 yards, 19 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. So, what do you think about the multiple quarterbacks they've added to what has become now a pretty crowded quarterback room for 2026 now with 5 guys in it?
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, Ashton Daniels, Dean DeNoble, Kevin Sperry, Malachi Marshall. I mean, it's a little crowded now, so it wouldn't surprise me to see a quarterback competition in the near future.
Yeah, man, definitely. It's just, we knew that quarterback was going to be a focal point for them in the transfer portal because that's been the case for the last few years, and that's due to, unfortunately, their lack of quarterback development and always needing to scramble and find one the next year. But I did not see them adding 3 new guys, maybe 2. But once they added the 4th guy, I did not see them adding a 5th one. So that was definitely a surprise, but it's definitely some competitions going on. I also, when you add this many guys, you do have to think, are one of these young guys going to think about transferring out also, with the room being so crowded and them not knowing, what the future holds. So that'll definitely be something to look at. But yeah, surprising that the room is this crowded. Knew it was going to get added to, but adding 3 guys in a matter of weeks was definitely not on my radar. But they did also add a running back, Jamari Sands, who from UAB, who has 2 years. Florida Atlantic has 2 years left. He ran for 465 yards and had 217 yards receiving last year. So they already had Quintrevion Windsor from Texas added to the roster. So what do you think about them adding another guy in Jamari Sands?
I mean, like the quarterback room, it's a little concerning that there's, a lot of chefs in the kitchen, so to speak. And, it'll be very interesting to see how Gus Malzahn and, Mike Norvell go about that. Truly, because, with Castellanos, we had, Cam Davis, we had Osman and, Gavin Sawchuk, just to name a few. So this whole new look offense for Florida State in 2026 might look a little different than I say to 2025. And I think it's really just going to depend on quarterback, and offensive line. That's another big thing. Offensive line is so undervalued, I feel like, in college, at least, because, we always hear about the big transfers, quarterback, Sam Levy, he's going to LSU. Great. Who's going to block for him? You know what I mean? Right. So I would just love to see them, get some big tuna. And I say that very, very lovingly. So, yeah. But looking forward to, seeing them hopefully defeat New Mexico State on August 28th or 29th, whatever it is. So we'll see.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's going to be interesting to see what this offense looks like under Malzahn in year 2 with some new pieces added to the roster. But the Seminoles also added some guys on defense. Linebacker Makai Gaber from North Carolina, he'll have 1 year of eligibility left. He had 41 tackles, 2.5 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 1 forced fumble, and returned a fumble for a touchdown last year for Tar Heels. But actually, in 2024, which was his best year, was at Nebraska under Tony White, who was at Nebraska at the time. So he had 49 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 3 pass breakups, and 2 fumble recoveries in Tony White's 3-3-5 scheme at Nebraska. So they also added Chris Jones, who has 2 years of eligibility left in Southern Miss, who actually had committed to Ole Miss, but then he backed out, decommitted, scheduled a visit with Florida State, and committed pretty quickly after that. He actually led the Sun Belt, in tackles last year with 135, 9.5 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks, 1 int, and 3 pass breakups. So they have made a conscious effort to add to this linebacker room. Of course, they need to get better at the recruiting aspect on the high school level. But what do you think about them double dipping in the last week at linebacker?
Again, no complaints whatsoever. If you're adding on to the defense, I'm all for that. So, like, no complaints. Love to see it. Love to see more of that.
Yeah, man. It just, hopefully that can spill over with Ernie Sims being promoted as the new linebacker coach. Him getting some guys in here, early. It might be transfer portal wise, but maybe that momentum can carry over into the recruiting ranks. Because the Seminoles definitely need it as far as linebackers. That's been one of the sore spots, and it's been through multiple regimes now. It's not just like one staff. Is wrecked the whole training that was going on. Now, this has been multiple different coaches that have had and coordinators that have had problems recruiting linebackers. So hopefully Ernie Sims is the guy to turn all that around. And they also hit the defensive line. Jordan Sanders from Texas State. He committed to Florida State with 1 year left. 36 games of experience. Last season, 16 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss, and 1 forced fumble. What do you feel about them adding some beef on the interior defensive line to go along with the Desir twins and Kevin Wynn coming back?
Loving it. Jordan Sanders along with him. Ooh, man, that's going to be so much fun to watch. Or we were talking about Jordan Sanders. Excuse me. Jordan Sanders, I mean, him, paired with Makai Gabayor. I hope I'm saying that right.
Yeah, I hope I'm saying his name right too.
I mean, there's so many decent, great guys we've gotten in this transfer portal period. Chris Jones, as you mentioned. Rylan Kennedy could also be very good. The transfer from A&M. I mean, A&M was kind of a world beater this year. So, I think this roster will be an improvement. Definitely. There's not really a move that has me scratching my head. I will say that. And surprisingly, that doesn't apply to quarterback. That doesn't apply to quarterback. So, I mean, if they have 5 quarterbacks on that roster, like we mentioned earlier, the quarterback competition, I imagine, is going to decide that. So it'll be interesting to see, genuinely, what this team is capable of doing. Because, I mean, we have no expectations, to be quite frank with you. So
not a whole lot, no.
I mean, whether this team goes 6-6, 7-5, 8-4 might be kind of the ballpark I'm seeing it this year. But Mike's gonna have to work a little harder this year, I fear. But
yeah, man. It's just about getting this roster back to a point where, once you go 10-3 and then you go 13-1. At some point there's going to be a little bit coming down off of that.
Yeah, but we fell into the Marianas Trench.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we weren't expecting to only win 7 games over a 2-year span. So definitely some different times right now. But they haven't been lazy. They've been going after guys. They missed out on some key guys. That went to other places, but you got to expect that with the lack of success that you've had on the field.
Yeah, and we actually have a comment from St. Petersburg, Russia, Ingvar 7229. He asks, why didn't we take the top quarterback from the portal? It's a wonderful question. I have no clue. Well, the top quarterback, Sam Leavitt, he was originally at Arizona State, and now he's at LSU. So my kind of thought process with that, why he didn't come to Florida State, scheme fit could be the reason. He never really thought about Florida State. NIL money could have been a factor. There's hundreds of reasons why he could not have chosen Florida State. Maybe he just didn't like Tallahassee. Could have been that. You never know. So there's a bajillion reasons why that might not have happened. But no money for the NIL. I don't think that's the reason. I mean, the brand recognition Florida State has and the booster program that they have, I feel like they're able to get these 3 and these 4-star guys that are really going to be contributors for the long term. Yeah,
man, it's definitely a combination of a lot, and with today's game. The NIL will always play a factor in it. But as you said, with Florida State and the brand they have, the power that comes behind that, I don't think that's necessarily an issue as far as that goes. But it's just a time we live in. It's not all black and white now. There's many shades of gray in the process as far as how college football goes now. So yeah, it's a whole bunch of things. To our a guy up there in Petersburg, Russia, man, St. Petersburg, Russia. I want to say, man, that's a long way away. So I definitely appreciate you checking in. I see my mom is in there, Jackson is in there commenting. So we appreciate y'all checking out the show tonight. And before we go, though, as you know, Florida State had their junior day weekend, their first junior day of the year over the weekend. A bunch of recruits on campus. A lot of them from the 2027 class, and they have made some waves with some of these guys. Jace Johnson, the quarterback out of Valdosta, Georgia, that's currently committed to Texas A&M. Mike Norvell actually went to his school to check on him, and he is planning to visit again sometime soon. Ty Keys, the blue chip running back out of Poplarville, Mississippi, 4-star guy. He recently just got an offer from Florida State. He was also there over the weekend. He named Florida State in his top 10. So they're doing well in his recruitment. Also, his teammate, Sam Lejeune, defensive lineman, 4-star guy out of Poplarville, Mississippi. He was also on campus, and he has named Florida State in his top 2. Along with Notre Dame. And I think Florida State might actually have a little bit of the lead because he said that he hasn't heard a lot from Notre Dame recently. They haven't been texting and calling as much as Florida State has, so they may actually have the advantage with that one. Another running back, Braden Tyson out of Snellville, Georgia, 2027 prospect, 4-star. He raved about the coaching staff and talked about how he plans to take another visit during the summer. So look out for him. And also Colton Johnson, a tight end in the 2027 class. He's not rated yet. He's out of Tennessee, but he raved about the staff and raved about his connection with them. So, they have 4 guys committed in the 2027 class right now. And also, speaking of 27, a former commit 4-star safety Jalen Scott, who decommitted from Florida State and then committed to Auburn, but then decommitted again. Florida State is now trending in getting him to return to the 2027 class. So they already have Mekhi Williams and Jamari Foreman, the 3-star recruit, Mekhi, the blue chip guy. Those guys are going to play safety. In 2027. So that's very, very interesting that they would circle back and still they were still recruiting Jalen very, very heavy. They said even after he decommitted, even after he committed to Auburn, they were never out of his ears. So apparently it's worked because things could come back full circle again. He could return to Florida State. So what do you think about some of these guys that they have made strides with in the 2027 class?
It's a long way away, to say the least. But building for the future, I think in the high school recruiting, I think that's going to definitely help out. In addition to the transfer portal, that's how you build your team. Honestly, that's the 2 big parts of it, obviously. So I think 2027, getting these 4 5-star guys, would love to see them develop and would love to see them become stars. Florida State, their kind of motto, if you will, that I've seen walking around is where stars come to shine. And I say that in air quotes. Would love to see them come to shine, come here to shine. You know what I mean? I want to see Chauncey Kennan. I want to see every single player that walks through our doors,
Javon Boggs, all the high-rated
everybody.
guys.
Everybody. It doesn't matter if you're a kicker. I want to see you nail every single field goal and then go in the first round like Roberto Aguayo. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, yeah, very stoked about that. Would just so looking forward to the future, man. I mean, don't really like that we have to play Alabama and Georgia in the next 2 years, but that's not, anything we can really control over. So, but you kind of just roll with the punches, and we beat LSU those 2 years, so you never know.
Beat LSU those 2 years, beat Alabama last year. So we've actually fared well with some of these games against big name opponents from the SEC earlier in the year. But
and then we just collapsed against ACC teams.
Yeah, all right. That seems to be the story. But yeah, man, I just wanted to check in with y'all here tonight. We had to reschedule it for the night, normally on Tuesdays, 8 Eastern, 7 Pacific, but had to push it back a day this week. Just want to talk about the guys coming back, the commitments, and some of the guys that they're making moves on in 2027. Like you said, that's very encouraging because that's the one aspect of this team that really needs to get in gear the most is the high school recruiting aspect, the high school recruiting and development aspect. Once Florida State can start nailing that down, this program will turn around immensely in my view.
And Miami just went to the Natty, so the competition is going to be fierce.
Yes, and thank God we didn't have to come here talking about them winning the national championship, but they still they have reset the bar in the state of Florida now with themselves, us, and the Gators and all that. They have they were literally 7 points away from being a national champion. You know what I'm saying? So the bar has been raised, and it's time to get back to work. We got to get our name back up in there. Yeah, that's right, man. Go Noles, go Noles.
2017 UCF still the most recent Florida champion. So,
yeah, those were definitely days. But yeah, y'all, appreciate everybody checking in. Like, share, subscribe. That would do the channel and us very well. Getting people to come check us out every week. We'll be back Tuesday, 8 Eastern, 7 Pacific, 7 Central. Excuse me. To talk about some more, hopefully, some more additions. Maybe we, through the dead period of the transfer portal, maybe get some recruits added to one of these 2 cycles coming up. So, everybody out there, appreciate y'all checking in. Y'all stay safe, and as always, no matter what, go Noles, and we will see y'all next week. Salute.
Have a good night, y'all.